Hi everyone. Today I just wanted to show you a few activities that you can do with your children to improve their phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness just means the ability to hear sounds within words and to manipulate them. And it's a very foundational skill that kids need to know in order to learn to read well. So the first thing I want to show you is a couple of rhyming activities. This first one is something that you can do on the go. You can do it in the car. I used to do it with my kids in the car. And it's just naming a word and asking the children to think of some words that rhyme with that word. So for instance, I would throw out a word like bat, and then they could say cat or sat, or even a nonsense word like blat. And they thought that was funny. And it's just another way to hear the ends of words that rhyme with each other. You can also use a rhyming book. Like I have, one of my favorites is I Wish That I Had Duck Feet. And you could read this to your kids and leave off the rhyming word and let them fill it in. So for instance, I wish that I had duck feet, and I can tell you why. You can splash around in duck feet. You don't have to keep them and then let them fill in the blank. And it's dry, but any word that rhymes with Y would be acceptable. And that's a fun way for kids. Love that. They love to be able to fill in the blanks in rhyming books. Here's another activity. This is something that you can do that helps kids learn to hear the initial sounds in words. That's the first sound in a word. Just throw out a word like, or a sound, like you could say, what is a word that starts with G? And then they could just give you a word like girl or grass. Another initial sounds activity you can do, I call it odd man out. And it's just giving them a group of words where one of the words doesn't fit with the initial sounds. For instance, fish, fan, bat, first. And then they have to supply which one of those words does not start like the other words. And in this case, it would be bat. Another way to develop phonemic awareness is through blending. This is another simple activity that you can do. It doesn't require any materials, and you can do it anywhere. So when you have a couple of extra minutes with your child, you could say, I'm going to say two parts of a word, and I want you to put them together to make a whole word. And you can use your fingers too. You could say, here are the two parts of the word, k, at. Now put them together. What's the word? And they would say cat. Or you could say up. Put them together. What's the word? Mop. Or you could do it with all of the parts of the word, like k, a, t. Put them together. Cat. Or a, p. Put them together. It's mop. And then you could go a little bit more in depth with this. You can say, what was the middle sound in that word? And then they have to think what the second sound was that they heard, and it was ah. And you could say, what was the last sound? P. So you can play with the sounds within the words like that. An important thing to remember with that is we're listening for the sounds, not the letters. So as adults, we know that the word play has 4 letters, P-L-A-Y, but it only has 3 sounds, P, L, A. So we would just keep 3 fingers, not 4. And then we can have another activity you can just do with your fingers is called segmenting. And that's where you take a whole word and you split it up into its parts. So for instance, the word play. You would say, I'm going to say the word, and I want you to divide it into its parts. So the word is play, and they would have to say P, L, A. Or you could give them a word like cup, and they would say K, P. So dividing a whole word into its parts is called segmenting. Another way you can teach this is with just some very simple things that you might have around your house, like beans or rocks on a table. In this case, I'm using magnets on a little cookie sheet, and each of these white magnets represents a sound. So if I were to give the kids a word like block, then they would have to move up a magnet for, or a bean or a rock for every sound that is in that word. B, l, a, k, b, l, a, k, block. It's harder to hear the middle sounds, so I usually reinforce those by saying, what was that second sound? B, l. Or a word like duck, d, k. And I might say, what was the middle sound? It was what letter says and then they would have to come up with U for the sound. So that's a very simple activity you can do with your kids at home. There are a couple of fun apps that I want to show you that develop phonemic awareness. One of them is my favorite. It's called Reading Magic, and it's free unless you want to buy the deluxe upgraded version. I happen to have the deluxe version, which is, I think it costs $1.99. And it looks like this once you get into it. And I'm gonna pick words with a. There are 4 sets here. I'll do set 1. And what you do is you tap the square and it says the sound. You can set it to where it also shows the letter. I have it without the letter because I just want the kids to focus on the sound. But x, x, x. And then they have to say the word, and if they do, they get to touch the square that has the picture in it. So if they say axe, then they get to do that. Here's another one. Van. Okay. There are other things you can do, like segmenting with this as well. If you decide to download this app for your kids, it's really fun. They love it. I use it all the time, even with my older kids, because there are other versions. This is Reading Magic number 1, but if you get a Reading Magic number 3 or 2, they get more in depth. And like, I think in 3 there are words with 5 or 6 or 7 sounds. So I even use it with my 5th and 6th graders because phonemic awareness is an important skill even up into the upper grades. Here is an app that is really fun for the kids as well. It's called Rhyming Bee. And I'll show you how this works.
Rob.
Whoop. Hold on. Okay, so once you get a Rhyming Bee, I think costs $2.99 or $1.99 as well. There's a free version too, but you just don't get as many sounds with it. Let's try the sounds ob and n. So I don't know if you can see that. It might be, I don't know if it's backwards, sorry if it's backwards, but this is en and ob. So we're going to have words that either end with the en sound n or the ob sound ob. I'm going to click on start, and then it gives you a word, and you have to, the kids have to decide 10 is, does it rhyme with hen or does it rhyme with knob? In this case it rhymes with hen, and it makes that sound if you got it right. And then the next one, sob, it's going to rhyme with knob, so I'll move it over there.
Sob. Knob.
And then job is going to rhyme with knob.
Knob.
Okay, so you get the idea. I want to show you what it looks like at the end because there's something kind of fun at the end. Let's say you've gotten to this point where you only have one petal left that you need to fill in. And we have the word Rob is going to go over here. And now it's all filled in. It will read the words to the kids.
Sob. Mob. Rob. Pen. Den. Ben. 10. Men. Congratulations! You just finished this section. Go back to the main menu, get more games.
Okay, this is fun. The kids love this. You touch on this little present, and then you can make bubbles and play with the fish for about 10 seconds. It's just a little reward. And then after about 10 seconds, it goes away and then they can play again. So those are just some fun little cute apps. They're very inexpensive or free if you don't want to pay anything to build phonemic awareness in your kids. And I hope you'll try these at home. I miss everybody. Bye-bye.